I've got a great one for you. So, how would you react to this, or what are your thoughts on this? Because when you think that customers are trying to get things for free, and I'll tell you exactly my what's the word? I've got one for you guys. How would you react to this? Or what are your thoughts on this? So when you go out to quote a customer and you have a look around the garden, you speak to them and you ask them what they're after, what their requirements are, all that kind of stuff. And then you realise that they're trying to get things out of you for free, almost to plan and redesign their garden for free. So I'll give you an example. I went to quote a job last week. Went to this house, standard house, but lovely lady. There was no problem. She was really, really pleasant, and the garden was lovely as well. Proper plants that you don't see very often. You've got everything was nicely pruned and looked after. It didn't look like she needed a gardener, if I'm being completely honest. But it was lovely. And as we're going through the garden, she's asking me, where would you put this hydrangea? Is this Paris in the right spot? Can we move this palm? What about these bulbs? Are they okay to be cut down now? And honestly, I was there for 35 minutes and time just ran away with me. And I basically thought, hang on a minute, I've almost like redesigned a garden for it. It gets to the point where it's almost like consultancy fee. Do you know what I mean? And I come out of that garden, we talked about all the different plants that could be repotted and moved and divided and all that kind of jazz. We talked about a Paris, the buddleia, the hydrangea, the camellia, the nandina. Pretty much every shrub that was in her garden we spoke about, and I told her how to look after it and what the best thing to do is. And I'm like, and at the time I just thought I was being helpful, but it wasn't until I actually drove off and realised that I've been there for half an hour and I've redesigned the garden. So, don't get me wrong, I'm all for helping customers. I'm a big believer that customer service is paramount to any business. Look after your customers and obviously your business will just keep going. I'm a big believer in that. But where do you stand? Where do you draw the line? Like, what's the balance? And I'm really intrigued to know other gardeners on here. How do you combat that? Because you don't want to be rude. You can't really say, hang on, I'm not going to tell you that. No, that's paid advice. I don't want to be that guy. I'm not Monty Dom. It's not like I'm like an absolute professional in the garden. I know a little bit, but I don't, when you start charging consultancy fees, I wouldn't dare, to be honest. But I'm just really intrigued to see what you would do, how you would combat that. Over to you guys. Let me know your thoughts, because it's an interesting one, that is. I didn't really think about it until I drove off. Nice one. See you in the next one.